Yes, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jack Farmer. This is the Evolution of Movie Show, and I am joined by Andy Rossi and James Shippey. Fellas, before we get into the movie, how are you doing this fine morning? Day? That's a long.
What day is it? Who am I? Doing great. Ate a little bit of too much candy yesterday. Pulling the curtain back a little bit. It was Halloween yesterday.
Yeah, I did the thing where, I should say, Emmy, the amazing Emmy, she purchased a bunch of candy, which I loved, and now I ate way too much of it, but now I still got a bunch of it left over, and now I have that. You get that weird, like, it's my duty now to finish it.
And I was stupid because I want to be that house that has the regular size Snickers and regular size Kit Kat. So I got all like the bigger size because I'm like, I'm gonna save it for some special kids. That special kid never came, so I kept it all. So I was just sitting in my house.
Yeah. How about you, James? How was the first Halloween as a dad?
Yeah, no, it was cool, man. We dressed Liam up in a little Yoda outfit and got some Curious George thing from his cousin that he wore when he was a kid. So we were taking lots of pics and meeting other families in the complex. And then overnight, because we knew a couple people that had put out bowls of candy, I'm out here incognito, nighttime in my pajamas. She's like, go ahead and do what you got to do, my wife. So I'm like going to neighbors' houses and like scooping up candy quietly, hoping that they don't see me. And, you know, at one point I was okay, if anyone comes out, it's like, oh, it's for the baby. It's for the baby.
Yeah.
You know,
right. This giant Snickers bar is for my baby.
For the baby. I was hoping Liam would be Liam Neeson for Halloween.
Oh man, nice. Thanks for giving me the idea.
You told me one of his special skills earlier.
Well, speaking of special skills, let's get into the show. This is the Evolution Movie Show, and we call it that because we watch movies and then we talk about them book club style, but we always pick one movie that came out a year after the last movie. So we started in 1990, went to 91, 92. Now we're in 2015. That means we go to 2016 next week. But for now, it's all about 2015, a time when theaters had hits like The Revenant, The Martian, and of course, The Wedding Ringer starring Kevin Hart. But we aren't talking about any of those. We're talking about Mad Max Fury Road. In a post-apocalyptic wasteland, a woman rebels against a tyrannical ruler in search of her homeland with the aid of a group of female prisoners, a psychotic worshiper, and a drifter named Max. That's how IMDb describes it. This got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, beating Edge of Tomorrow's previous high mark of 91%. Safe House, by the way, is still at the bottom of the rankings at 53%.
Thanks for that reminder, Jack.
Andy, what were your thoughts going into this one? Did you see it when it came out? Any thoughts going into it this time around?
Yeah, I definitely seen it before. It's super fun. So I was looking forward to getting back into it because I hadn't seen it since I saw it in the theater. I did see the original. I saw the original. I might have seen, is there two with Mel Gibson? There's three. I've seen
Mad Max 2, and Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Beyond Thunderdome is such a cool title. I think that's the one I haven't seen actually. But
I think that's probably the most memorable one too. As far as
Tina Turner.
Yeah.
And Master Blaster.
Oh yeah.
Who runs Bartertown?
Master Blaster.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude, you got to see that one, dude.
Yes.
Master Blaster. So I was excited to get back and check this one out.
Yeah, I saw this in theaters. I remember thinking that this is one of the most fun movies I'd seen in so long. This is just a testosterone-fueled madhouse of madness. But, you know, not to jump ahead, but but that's just the mask over which is kind of a female empowerment movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I don't want to jump too far into that because we'll talk about it in a little bit. James, you picked the movie. Tell us why.
Yeah, well, I went to see this movie in the theaters probably the first week or two, and You know, to keep the habits going, I fell asleep in it. So,
how? This movie's so crazy.
I know. I just fall asleep in a lot of movies. Most people, if they go to movies with me, they'll see that happen normally at the second act of a film. So I fell asleep in this action-packed, loud, rambunctious film. But I mean, like I said,
how did you fall asleep in this one? There's literally a guy playing a flaming guitar, and you fell asleep during this.
You're like, lame.
Hey, look, man, that stuff's like white noise to me. Okay, that's white noise.
You had
to
your
me.
own
Loud
movie going
music.
on in your dream.
So I fell asleep, right? I think my wife didn't, which was a shocker. Normally it's the other way around. Whenever we see movies, we take turns. But I fell asleep in this. I always remember there's a 97% Rotten Tomatoes and everyone raving about this film. So I was like, you know what? Let's see this again. Let's see if I can stay awake in this one. And lo and behold, I fell asleep in I just finished this movie like 20 minutes ago, folks. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I was gonna say we're gonna get to the end. You're like, I have no idea. I don't know what happens at the end.
Or you just try to talk your way out of the end. You're like, yeah, and then Tom Hardy is the king.
Yeah, that part when things is blowing up, that was crazy.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say, spoiler alert, guys. Come on, don't ruin it for me. I want to see.
I want to see this film.
Well, let's get into it. But before we do, as always, thank you to everyone who is watching or listening, whether it be on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Even if you're watching this on YouTube, just go to Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review. Leave a nice note. It's the least you could do. Come on. Not just being mean people, I guess. Let's start the movie. It starts with news clips telling us that the world ends, and hey, it's because of war. There's a quote at the beginning that says, it's hard to tell who is crazy, me or everybody else. This movie basically is about a world of madness. So he says he's been on the road running before he ends up getting taken, reminding us of the ones he was a protector of, alluding to the previous films with the car and the kids. Max gets a tattoo with his blood details when he escapes the war boys momentarily, seeing more visions of those he's let down. James, I always start with you at the beginning because you fell asleep at the end and you're not much good to us there. So this is the world we live in, kind of alluding a little bit, I think, to the old movies, to the Thunderdomes, but showing us that this is where Max is today.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it starts right off, and I don't, let's not bury the lead here. Doesn't he eat like a salamander?
Like a two-headed lizard.
Yeah, like a lizard, right?
Protein.
It reminded me of the Nick Cage movie, like this close-up on a lizard for a while.
It might be the same lizard.
It might be the same lizard.
Yeah.
So
he's super talented.
It's a lot of work.
He's got a great
good agent.
Yeah, he's got an agent.
Jinx.
Yeah, no, it's movies like this, I mean, as anyone knows, this is probably deemed one of the best action films of all time. I mean, after those clippings and him kind of waxing poetic on his situation, his past, his present, and all that stuff. I mean, we get straight to the action of him being captured and trying to escape these guys in this adrenaline-filled, small spaced, I guess they're like in a cave or something. They're underground, and I don't know. I think they're about to brand him pretty much. And that's when he gets the strength of 10 men, and he's outrunning them, these guys that look like they're vampires. And then, he's kicking them and he's seeing these. I think what is he's being haunted by his past as well, because we keep seeing like a little girl and he hears voices in his head, which I don't know in the original Mad Maxes, did they use those kind of I don't know if you would call it tropes, but I don't know if they used that. I can't remember. I haven't seen them in a while.
I don't think they use those tropes. I think what happened, though, if I remember, like Beyond Thunderdome, it ends with him saving a group of kids.
Yeah, you're right.
And so I think that this is telling us, the viewer, that this is the same Max. It's not a reboot. It's not a new guy. It's the same guy, but something happened, and that's why those kids aren't around anymore.
Yeah, and I think this is interesting. I know we won't get too deep into furthering it, but this is how they tell us about those kids. It doesn't really, we don't get too expositional about it throughout the film. And, he's not like dour and, talking about, years ago. He doesn't do that. And maybe different filmmakers would have done that. But of course, it was George Miller, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have time for that. I think he had been working on this film for years, and he pretty much like stamped his vision on this film. I would say more so than any other one. And yeah, it just really stuck out, especially those first 10 minutes. We knew what we were in for.
Yeah, and Andy, going to you here again before we get into getting on the road, which is what this movie's all about, just kind of building the world here. We really don't ever find out much about Max. If you haven't seen the old movies, you really don't even know anything about him, and you never learn anything about him. But you do find out, like I said in the beginning, he says, "I don't know if I'm the crazy one or if everyone else is." You kind of see this is like a world of madness. Everyone in this movie is kind of crazy.
Yeah, like right in the beginning too. I think he's sort of an everyman, because I think if this was The Rock or Jason Statham playing this, I feel like they would run to that cliff and just jump, grab onto that hook, and they would have been out of there. I thought it was pretty great how you saw the hook, and I was even like, oh, okay, yeah, he gets away here, even though I'd seen it before. He jumps, catches himself on the hook, and then it just goes right back. I got to credit my wife for this. She goes, they all look like Pete Davidson.
Oh,
they all look like ladies, man.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, it's working. I mean, it works for the one guy later.
So this is Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Which, by the way, great performance from him.
He's great.
Because I was saying, I was like, what is he in? He looks so familiar, because I never look at who the actors are or anything. He's so familiar. And he's like, yeah, he's Beast in X-Men.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? That's the same guy? No. And then it finally clicks. Like, oh my God, this looks like a totally, he's totally different characters, which is what you look for in a great actor, is when you can disappear into these characters. But
definitely,
let's get into the meat and potatoes of this movie. This is where it starts. When they hit the road, Joe is sending Furiosa to go get some gas from, let me check my notes here, Gastown. When he gives his people a little bit of water, she takes a detour and starts driving off the road. Joe finds out Furiosa took his breeders, so he sends his war boys and Mad Blood Bag Max to get her. Furiosa runs through enemy territory while her crew wonders what's going on, and we get a car battle. Warboy lives are literally thrown into explosions at 100 miles an hour across the wasteland before driving into a sandstorm to escape. What a lovely day. Andy, this is just pure, like I said before, this is just cars and engines and explosions 100 miles an hour. If you're a gearhead, you gotta love this movie. This just opening sequence is insanity. I'm gonna say madness and insanity and crazy about 100 times in this show, because that's what this is. But this first car chase, if you want to call it that, crazy.
It keeps upping itself. You're like, oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's even more crazy. But yeah, I mean, you got the crazy drummers, and the guitar guy is everything's like insane. They just take everything and just magnify it by a million. The breast pump women. What the heck was that? Like, you're just like crazy.
It's
crazy
mother's
madness.
milk.
I know. I just thought that was so gross and weird. But I gotta talk about Joe. That guy is one of the most scary villains I've seen in my entire life. I don't know. He has the oxygen, so is he dying? I'm kind of confused, but like the way he like drives, I like how he's the villain that actually drives his own car. I thought that was cool, because there's a lot of movies where the villain sits in the back and they're not, doing anything, and he's all in. He's like into the madness as well. So he was a very, very terrifying villain, and I thought Charlize Theron is cast perfectly as Furiosa. I forgot she was missing some of her arm. Kind of made her even more badass, if that was possible.
Yeah, And Joe, to your point, looking like a comic book villain who's been on a cocaine bender for about a week and a half.
Week and a half.
A week and a half?
3.5 years.
3 years. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, he's just again, looks like just insanity incarnate.
Yeah.
And this place he lives, yeah, they're pumping breast milk. They've got water they're dumping out of a giant skull. You've got this giant mountain of a man going, Paul, where are they going? You've got just this terrifying place. James, the character designs here, the naming conventions, like Furiosa, just incredible.
Guzzling.
Yeah, guzzling is what they call it. You know, going to get the guzzling.
Right.
Okay, that's not a good, but you get it. Like it sounds like he's using in what is it? Bullet World?
Bullet World or
Bullet Farm.
Bullet Farm. Okay.
Yeah.
I was close.
Right.
Bullet Farm and gas. Yeah, I will say this, and because I don't think the plot, and it's a very simple film, because like I said, for majority, I mean 98%, they're just driving.
Yeah.
Basically. It's basically in this truck.
They basically go from point A to point B, from point B to point A.
Point A, yeah. You know, if you just think about it, you're just speaking this out loud, it's like, oh, really? Like, we're going to give you millions of dollars for that? But, you know, I will say George Miller's a visionary. And the thing that sticks out probably the most to me as I was watching it this time is like, hey, the costume design, the set design, obviously the action sequences, but like just kind of the visual filming of the film is really what sticks out, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously we have kind of these beautiful people, these, I guess Immortal Joe? The irony
Immortan or Joe or something. It wasn't immortal, but it sounded immortal.
Yeah, Immortan Joe.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, he's got like his harem of women. And
they're called breeders.
Yeah. Excuse me. I don't want to disrespect them by calling them a harem. Let me get that right. He's got these, beautiful women that are breeders, and they kind of, even the way they talk, they're very Shakespearean almost.
Mm-hmm.
People don't speak in like long sentences. It's like straight to the point. The dialogue's very kind of crisp. There's not really much wasted dialogue in this film. I can only imagine in the script, Andy and Jack, like it's just all action sequence, like all just action and slug lines and all that kind of stuff. So
I do like the way the War Boys talk, though. They have like a whole dialogue of what, like, I can't think of, what does he say later on? Like he says, he doesn't say avenge me. He yells
witness
something.
Witness me. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's that. There's a couple other things they say that you're like, oh, okay.
We'll drive in Valhalla.
Yeah, the Valhalla. Yeah. They really lean in that word. Yeah, the chrome.
I don't understand the spray paint. Oh, the chrome.
Yeah, I had to look that up. It's like some sort of, that's exactly.
Oh, now I get it.
Yeah. Well, it's basically like some sort of like drug that kind of like induces them for a quick minute. So, obviously they're probably all like hooked on that stuff, and it kind of, it's kind of a way, like almost like they're huffing paint or
huffing gasoline.
Yeah, or huffing, guzzling. Yeah. So
that was the one thing before we move on, is I did, because the one thing that stood out to me as far as the dialogue that didn't sit right was everyone talked kind of weird except for Furiosa, who talked like she came right out of Los Angeles. Because everyone else would talk like, get the gasoline. And even Max would only say a word or two.
Yeah.
The women, they would all speak like Shakespearean, like you said, but she was just like, so we're going to drive the car later and get to the green space. And for me, it's like, wait, why is she talking so normally? That was the one thing that didn't sit well with me.
She kind of seemed like a human amongst aliens.
Yeah.
The one sane one, I guess.
I have to add one thing, how loud everything was. I was just thinking, I'm like, they're not very good at sneak attacks. Like if they were trying to like attack another village and be like, oh yeah, we heard you. Like 10 hours ago.
But how could you sneak attack? It's nothing but desert. They would see, they literally see people coming. They're like, they're driving full speed. It's going to take them 5 minutes to get here.
Yeah. So yeah, you could really get ready. You're like, I hear the drums and that Axel guy on the guitar. I hear they're coming. Oh, and I see them 20 miles away.
Like, is it just I'm terrified, but is it just me, or is he shredding right now?
And even during battle, he doesn't stop.
No,
he just keeps playing. They paid him for the whole gig. We paid you for the whole day.
Yeah, you might as well just hang out.
I gotta play until they say I'm done.
I mean, they're in such a wasteland. The honey wagon's too far away. He's like, I'm not gonna. What am I gonna do? Just sit in the lawn chair while you guys film in Video Village? Let me go ahead and shred, baby.
And what a great speaker! Because that's got to be Bluetooth. Wasn't plugged in any power or anything.
In the wasteland, you focus on the things that are important, like music.
Of course.
So let's continue on because we've got a lot to cover here. Max carries his own personal war boy and finds what looks like a post-apocalyptic bikini car wash. Furiosa and Max fight, and the war boy fights, and eventually they form an uneasy alliance and drive away. They start getting chased by the Gastown gang and the Bullet Farmer, and the war boy gets kicked off the war rig as Furiosa meets with some folks. This is, I guess, where Furiosa had a plan at some point, but we're seeing the uneasy alliance between these two. I just wanted to quickly touch base with each of you on this. The idea that I like how there's still tension. Like, they don't just say, hey, we're both trying to get away, let's be friends. There is tension, but also this is where Furiosa shows that she is not the second fiddle. She's the star.
Mm-hmm.
And James, what do you take?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And as you said, that fight sequence, I mean, that kind of like, for me, actually, that was kind of one of my favorite parts where I really started getting into it. I think it's kind of a little, it is what it is in the beginning in certain aspects, but that part, it kind of slows down. And the choreography with him being chained up to Nicholas Holt's character, I can't remember his name right now. And then
I think he's just War Boy,
right?
Yeah.
So him being chained to him, and then Furiosa trying to overpower him because he's probably a lot stronger just being a man. And Tom Hardy in general is like stronger than most people, right? So her trying to overpower him and having to use her wits and actually it wasn't like she wasn't even trying to outsmart him that much. That was like she just went head first. She's fighting this dude, which I think is just like very ballsy how she's coming at him like a warrior that she is. So that was just a great scene, and they're using the chain, they're using the car, they're using the sawed off, and eventually she overpowers him. And the thing I do remember, and maybe I'm wrong, when I first saw the movie, the first time I saw the movie for bed a few years ago when this came out, I thought the Uneasy Alliance lasted longer. I know there's a whole sequence with the guns in the truck, which I think is great. The sound design, like he's not even talking to him. He's like pointing to this, and they're like having to unload all these hidden guns that he knows where, he knows the game. But I feel like their Uneasy Alliance became easy quicker than I remembered. I thought it lasted longer than that, but maybe I was wrong because, like I said, I wasn't 100% awake the first time.
Well, I think because they do such a good job of getting on the same page out of a necessity, because there is a like, look, if we don't work together, we're all dead. So I think they find that alliance fairly quickly.
Little bit of tension. We don't know each other completely yet, but the urgency of it is like, yo, we have to work together. No, that's true.
I like the way Furiosa handled Max taking her ride too. Like, she wasn't that worried about it. And then I was even thinking that, I'm like, man, she doesn't seem that worried about him taking the whole rig. And then it's like, nope, it's got to be programmed to Furiosa. And then she just like catches up, just like walks casually up to him. She's like, nope.
That was tense too. And she was like, look, you got to take us with you. And he's like, only you. And she's like, no, all of us. And he's like, okay, well, wait.
Well, and I was thinking during that fight scene is so cool. Like, the stunts in this movie is outrageous. It had to be like a stunt person's dream to just be like, you get to fly off cars,
or a nightmare.
Or a nightmare. That's true. Well, I think you get into it for this kind of stuff. But I was just thinking with the breeders, Charlize should have taught them some fighting skills, because it's Furiosa versus Max versus Warboy. And those girls could have just jumped in there. I could have seen Zoe Kravitz, getting scrappy and helping her out, but they don't really help her. They're just kind of like, they got a bolt cutter. That's about it.
I thought the opposite, actually, in the sense that I was surprised that they knew how to sort bullets and things like that, because I'd imagine they just lived in that little dome their whole life. And I was under the impression they were so sheltered they wouldn't know anything beyond that little. So
yeah,
and that. And the reason, and so like when they were like, "Oh yeah, I'll sort the bullets," I was thinking, well, how do they know how to work? Like, and they're working on the car and stuff. How do they know how to do this? They've been sheltered, but I don't. Of course, I don't know. Joe maybe actually has a very good learning program,
but no fighting.
No fighting. Yeah, I think the hand-to-hand stuff. No, and like I said, is women if they the
one girl bites someone later though. So
yeah, they do stuff, and even the pregnant one like hops in and like helps, and and at a certain point before obviously before she has an issue. Later issue. It's quite an issue, but I see what you mean. It's like they're not jumping into the fight, but you know what? Most movies, does anyone jump into a fight? It's always, how it goes. We can go back to Lionheart.
I was gonna say that.
Take time. You've seen someone get beat up, then you jump in. Like you have to see them cream first. Then you jump.
7 versus you, and now I'm gonna. Each of us are going to fight you one at a time.
Exactly, man.
Well, you mentioned that she has an issue. The gang runs away from the Excitebike gang, who I kind of think were the good guys here because they were the ones that got ripped off in this whole deal.
Those poor guys.
This slows down they slow down the 3 war parties by blowing up the pass, but it doesn't stop them. And Team Mad work together pretty well once they get going. Joe says he wants his property, and in the battle, the pregnant one falls to her death while Max has another flashback. The girls debate whether or not they should go back while Joe is on his way. This is where we finally get a little bit of a breather, it seems, for these guys and get some character development. The pregnant one fell to her death. Now there's stakes. I always say once someone dies in a movie like this, now there's stakes. Now people... if not everyone's going to make it. And so for me, especially the pregnant one dying, this one was kind of gruesome. I'll just let you guys talk about, I guess, this, now one of them's dead. Now Joe is very crabby at this point. I think it's the word crabby, I think is what you use. He lost some of his property.
They really trick you too with the pregnant girl because she kind of stumbles, her legs kind of messed up. And then the only time Tom Hardy shows any kind of positive emotion, he does a very... weird. Doesn't he do a thumbs up for
he does a thumbs up, but it looks weird, like he's never done a thumbs up before.
What do I do?
He's never done a, you didn't even know he had this.
What is this? I've seen people do this.
Yeah. It was actually, I thought it was perfect because it was exactly how you would feel about, you're on our team, so cool. I don't really care about you. You're kind of slowing us down, but whatever, you made it. And that's kind of the biggest character development of Mad Max throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because he does, like I said, he almost doesn't talk. I was going to ask though, was this before or after Batman when he was Bane? Because there was a lot of Bane vibes I was getting.
It's definitely after, because the Dark Knight Returns, The Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012.
Okay.
And I remember in the lead up to this movie, there was always talks about that because in a lot of movies after that, you'll have Tom Hardy where you don't see his face all the time. And he's acting with his eyes. That's kind of a big thing he was known for after Bane, right? I don't know if you're going to say that, Andy. Or
no, I was just thinking the Joe guy kind of has a Bane thing going on too.
Yeah, him too.
But I was saying with him, because obviously he has the mask in the beginning of this movie, but even his voice and the way he talks was kind of like I'm Mad Max. I was born in the darkness.
Yeah, it's really gruff, Mr. Wayne, I know. Well, it was such an iconic kind of role for him. I know there's people that debate about the actual movie Dark Knight Rises, which personally I love that film.
Me too.
I would love
it. Yeah,
who doesn't love that movie?
I know who doesn't. Well, no,
I love The Godfather. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Well, no, most time when you say Dark Knight, right, people always point to The Dark Knight, and they get so caught up in the Heath Ledger one. But Dark Knight Rises is a great, ambitious.
That's fair.
Film, but with Tom Hardy here, and it's funny you mentioned that. I don't really remember the original Mad Maxes that much, but I do remember at least a little bit more in-depth character stuff with the Mel Gibson version. And so I was kind of missing that here, but obviously, that's not what this movie is. I think we get all of that really from the Furiosa character. And when this movie came out, I think most people were even kind of joking, "Oh, this movie should have been called Furiosa."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because it's really about her. She's the one with I don't even know if you say the one with the arc. Maybe it could be him as well, but I mean, the story, it feels like it's her story more
you
so.
You could theoretically take Mad Max out of this, and the movie's the same for the most part.
You could.
And did I miss what was why did they call him Bloodbag? Because he had universal blood. Is that what it was?
Maybe was he O positive? I feel like I saw that
he was O positive when they first caught him. That's what they were tattooing on him. Was his
I remember that
vital organs and stuff. But they were using him because the main war boy that we follow in the movie,
Steve-O,
he was losing he was low on blood, and so they were keeping Max originally to literally use as like a blood bag. That's why he was connected with the blood, and that's why when they first bring him out, they hang him upside down because he was they were really just going to use him as a living, hey, we need a donor, so plug.
Dude, that's pretty fascinating. I didn't catch that. That's a fascinating, just even that offside story. Did you catch that, Andy? Or I don't know. I didn't catch it really.
I knew something to that effect. I'm glad Jack clarified it.
Because
later he gives his blood to Furiosa.
Yeah. So
I remember that.
I think really they were just going to use him for organs and stuff for injured war boys. That was what his fate would have been had he not escaped.
Hence why when he's kind of getting into all of them and beating the crap out in the beginning, because I would think in any other instance you would kill the guy that tries to get away like that. Hence why they have to hold on to him. He's a little more precious to them. He's a tool or whatever. They need him.
I did want to mention before I forget, by the way, some fun little Easter egg. Speaking of the old movies, Joe is played by a guy who was Toe Cutter in one of the original Mad Maxes.
Oh, wow.
So he was a villain in one of the original Mad Maxes, the same actor.
And they have the same director who I looked up that did all 3 Mad Max movies, then did Babe, Pig in the City, then Happy Feet, and then did this Mad Max movie.
He did Happy Feet? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What a weird arc there. Hey, we saw what you did with Mad Max. Could you take over this movie we're working on called Happy Feet? So Warboy realizes that Joe will never let him into Valhalla, and he starts getting a thing for the redhead. The pregnant girl isn't able to produce a baby, and the bullet farmer starts shooting into the night. So Furiosa shoots his lights and blinds him, making him the scales of justice. They use a winch to get out of some mud, and Max goes and kills the bullet farmer, and they drive by some dudes on stilts. So a lot of weird stuff happens here. This is where some weird stuff happens. First off, and James, we'll start with you. I like talking to you about character development stuff. Warboy, he knows that now he's messed up to the point that he can't go back to Joe. His blood bag is who killed one of his wives. He failed jumping onto the rig. This is where he kind of realizes either I join this group or I'm done.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, it seems like a natural transition for him. And, he's kind of, if I'm not mistaken, he was kind of a fan favorite, his character. I feel like people would always talk about him. You know what I mean? And, probably because it's played by Nicholas Hoult. He's a very likable kind of guy.
It's a lovely day.
Yeah. It's a lovely day. Yeah. Very lovely day. Yeah. That's that's from the trailer, right? So, it's important. It's so great because they need him to escape at some point. And I think the scene that really sticks out to me, I don't know if we've gotten to this, but obviously at nighttime when they have to do the whole thing with the tree and
that's this part.
Yeah, and you have to do the whole thing with the tree, and he's helping
he
them
didn't
out.
Know what a tree was called.
That thing over there. Yeah.
Right.
And the girl's like, a tree. Yeah, the tree thing. I love it. And like I said, once again, the action sequence of he's trying to drive the rig, and the tree's bending, and it's a beautifully shot night scene, you know, as these guys are coming for them and shooting at them, you know, and everyone's expendable at this point. He knows he's expendable because even I guess the guy that's trying to do the bidding for Immortal Joe, he's shooting at everyone at night. He doesn't know what he's aiming at.
He's literally blind at one point.
Yeah, he's literally blind shooting.
hold up the flare closer.
Yeah, closer. It's in front of you. Okay. Just put a blindfold on me, and you know, put a piece of sheet around around my eyes.
But that's actually what I thought was cool this time. I didn't really catch it the first time, but I think what's so poetic about that is this was the bullet farmer, meaning he's all about shooting guns. And you take his eyes. Having guns is now pointless if you can't see. You can't really shoot. So that was sort of the worst thing you could have done to him.
Yeah. Let me ask you.
Is blind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty powerful.
Let me ask you a question about that, fella. So he takes out his tooth and puts it in a gun and said, "This is for Furiosa."
That doesn't make sense to you?
I really wanted to see that. I'm like, how does he shoot his tooth?
That is one of those things they built up, but then they didn't play out.
Yeah.
He did that, and then he never fired that gun, which is like one of the rules of writing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, that was Chekhov's gun, which didn't go off. So that is a problem.
I like, though, I didn't catch this until the first time, and I got to give a shout out to Emmy for catching this too. Is I remember he said, "I am the scales of justice," and at first I thought this was just dialogue from a crazy villain, you know, just saying random madness. But then she said, "Oh yeah, he's blinded, like the scales of justice." He's wearing the thing and he's holding his arms out with the guns. I was like, "Wow, he really is the scales of justice."
That is a nice. I
would have never caught that.
Yeah, no, that's really
like,
good.
He's just crazy.
That's what I thought the first time too. Oh, just Matt, you know, you just say, "And my bullets will rain upon my villain." I don't know, you just weirdness. But
I am the scales of justice, which justice is blind.
Yeah,
that is fascinating. That's a good find that she had. And then, another thing too, I love how the girls are. It was a Furiosa. She's like, "Okay, you only have 2 left. That's 2 left." And you know, I guess Mad Max doesn't have the greatest thing. Well, it's nighttime. I mean, he's like trying to point his gun in like a small light.
Yeah,
maybe a mile or whatever away, or half a mile away, and he just hands the gun to her. And she like points and she's like, what does she say? Like, "Don't breathe."
Yeah.
Or yeah. And then what a great shot. That was a great kind of like scene or shot.
That was the moment I think in the movie where they physically showed us we are handing over the movie to Furiosa. This is Furiosa's movie. And she kills it. But Andy, I want to talk to you about from a film shooting standpoint. I thought this was interesting. They said Max goes off to go take on the bullet farmer, but we don't even see this battle. He just comes back covered in blood. As a filmmaker, tell me about the idea of letting us imply what happened and letting the viewer's imagination run wild with something like that instead of showing what could have been a really cool scene.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of really cool scenes. So I think have him come back with all the blood on him, this dragging all the guns, I thought was cool, actually. It kind of reminds me of when we did A History of Violence. They had that beginning scene where you kind of didn't see what happened, and then you just see like some dead bodies in there. I think you could visualize crazier stuff than is even on screen. So I think that was actually cool. And especially when she's like, "There's blood on you," and she's like, "That's not his blood." It's just like,
I feel like I turn around and be like, "You don't know that."
yeah. You don't know that exactly.
Yeah. Maybe I could get some help over here.
And then he cleans himself in some milk.
Right. There's another funny point where he says, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And then it's mother's milk. He's like, "Oh, okay."
Sounds good.
So we find out, I was going to say, when they were going by the guys with the stilts, to me, when they drive by, it was a simple scene, but I thought that was really cool to build a world, because now you're like, there's these other guys who live in this world too. Like, what are they doing? What's this thing? It's not just Joe and his crazies. It's these guys live in this world. For me, it built the world a lot bigger very quickly. I don't know if you guys got that, but it made me go, "Oh, who are these guys?"
I would have loved if they just would have did an about face and they go to a town that's very normal and like present like this, and it's like these other people are just cosplaying, and you know,
right?
Like like The Village. Sorry, spoiler alert. Like that wasn't really real. You know, the Shyamalan film.
Yeah, it's just like totally normal. They just go into a diner.
Yeah.
Would you like some pie? And they're like, "What's pie?"
Yeah,
like,
what's
milk.
pie?
Milk.
You have mother's milk here?
Yeah.
No.
We have regular milk. We have almond milk, coconut milk. We've got soy milk for people that prefer that.
Mother's milk.
I haven't heard of that brand. Let me go and talk to Jerry in the back.
Hey, Jer.
Yeah, Jerry.
So as they're driving kind of near the end of their journey, the first part of it anyways, we find out Furiosa was taken from her home as a child as they roll up on a woman who is bait, but they know Furiosa, so it's all good. We find out that no one in the wasteland is tougher than a bunch of old ladies.
Yeah.
They tell her that the place with
Love
the
these
dudes on the
ladies.
stilts was the green place that they were going to, but everything got poisoned. This is kind of our all hope is lost moment. Furiosa pitches driving across the salt, and after a vision from the kid again, Max says, "No, let's go back and take over the Citadel." And they agree. So Stilts guy, that was once the green place before it went sour.
The crows, right?
And the crows showed up. I thought that was a cool little, oh, here's this little thing that we drive by. Like, oh, that's weird and interesting. And then you find out, oh no, that dark, evil place was the promised land.
Yeah. And her reaction too of how long she was gone. What did she say? 7,000 days, not including the days I don't remember.
Right, because she's probably unconscious many days.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
This is what got me, Andy, and explain this to me, because she says, I was kidnapped, and you're like, oh, so she was made into this role she didn't want to be. And then she gets to the old ladies, and they're like, oh, it's you, Furiosa. And I was thinking, you named her Furiosa? I thought that was a Joe thing. What kind of crazy name is that?
Was I the only one that thought that all these badass females, did they kill the men in their town? I mean, in this movie in general, all the men aside from Max and Steve-O are like mean. Like all the men are this like jerks, and all the women are pretty nice. So like maybe they just said, you know what, let's kill these men. They're all jerks.
It's funny. I thought you were making a joke, but now you've actually made it pretty logical and makes sense. They probably should have killed all the men.
Yeah, they're all terrible.
All the men are terrible, and the women are here to save the earth. But the
guitarist, he was cool, I guess. He didn't really.
Guitarist is pretty cool.
I don't know if he was a man or woman, though. I really don't know.
One of them has a bunch of seeds from different plants, which gives us as viewers a little bit of hope. Like, oh, you might be able to start a farm and bring life back. But it also, James, shows us that the end of the world wasn't so long ago, because she says these used to be everywhere.
Which is surprising, because I think because we, like I say, it's hard to separate from the old Mad Max films, which I think the first Mad Max maybe came out like in the early 80s or late 70s. So you think the way that everyone's behaving, that it's been like this, I don't know, 50 years or so, or this or that. But as we've seen in these kind of post-apocalyptic films, or hell, real life, past year and a half, things can go from 0 to 100 pretty quick, right? Like I said, this is a barren wasteland. I looked it up. They filmed this in Africa of somewhere. So yeah, that once again, if this was like in Seattle, Washington, I don't know if it'd be as barren. There'd probably still be some coffee shops. Just maybe you're not, maybe
you're not putting down Starbucks.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Or not.
You might get a cameo from Jack Farmer too.
Yeah. Starbucks.
Right. Oh, while the barista's making your drink, they also have like a sawed off under the counter in case you want to act bad, in case you want to act up.
It's all post-apocalyptic and evil, but they're still making little designs on the top of the coffee with the phone.
Yeah.
And they squirt the whipped cream on your mouth. Like the chrome. Tell me about the paint again. That really gets them going.
It does.
I was so confused at that.
It gets them high, basically.
Just really quickly, like a boost of nitrous.
I'll be honest. This is one of those movies where no matter what happened, I just went, okay. That's part of it.
Stilt people. Got it.
This is chrome. It's a slang term used by the war boys. Most prominently near-death war boys. Oh, the ones that are near death, hence why he has his blood bag, will huff chrome spray paint in their final moments to enter into a dissociative high that would lead them on the road to Valhalla and give them cool chrome-colored teeth and mouth.
That's the main part.
End quote.
I know what I'm going to be for Halloween. I'm going to be a war boy for Halloween.
Right?
Chrome on my face.
Dude, there was so many, and this is so perfect as we're filming this, around Halloween, literally like right around it. I think when this movie came out, a whole bunch of people would dress up as the characters. Like I said, this is like a perfect cosplay Halloween costume type film. Especially with the rocker, the doof warrior. I looked him up. Iota the doof warrior. That's what they call him.
His name is Iota the doof warrior. That is the best name of any character ever penned in history. Iota the doof warrior.
Right. Well, I think Iota might actually be his real name, so I could be wrong. Okay, Iota's his real name, but the doof warrior is his character.
His name's Iota the doof warrior. I don't care.
The girls had great names too. There's wasn't one of the girls is called Splendid?
Yeah,
Capable.
Yeah, you had one called Fragile.
So they decide to go back and take over the Citadel. It's Carmageddon, and we've got Cirque du Soleil, Friday the 13th masks. We've got bad guys winning until Max makes Joe shoot Gastown's mayor, and Furiosa starts running people off the roads, and the fire guitarist starts to slap the bass. Rictus and Max duke it out, and Furiosa rips off Joe's face. Rictus pulls the engine out of a war rig, and we witness the war boy sacrifice himself to clog the pass, and Max finally tells us his name. They ride into the Citadel, showing that Joe is dead, and give water to everybody, but Max doesn't stay with them. He stays true to his word, and he finds his own way. This is one of those final battles where going into it, you're like, I don't know how they're topping what they've done already. But boy, howdy, did they save some gas in the tank for this final fight as you've got the guys on the stilts doing the back and forth thing.
That was cool.
Picking people out. You've got a chainsaw fight. I feel like I could write notes forever on just these different things they were doing. That was like, this is
ripped off Joe's face.
Ripped off Joe's face was a real line. And by the way, not the craziest thing that happened.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting too is like you see like especially in comedies they do like a road trip and it's like all the stuff that happens to them on the way to the place, and then like there's never the return trip. And I always, as a viewer, I kind of want to see the return trip, but it is true. Like any trip you go on, typically the way back is kind of lackluster. So I thought this was pretty great that they did say, no, we're gonna show you the way back, even crazier than the way there, which I thought was really, really awesome. Because they could have definitely just been like, hey, and then they got back. They kind of like passed everybody.
There's this part of me that just had terror in the idea of you're in the war rig and you think the girls are safe, but the idea of these guys coming in on the stilts and sort of swinging over and just grabbing people and pulling them out. What a visual. What a just a thing as a viewer, you could feel the, oh my God, I'm not safe in the front of this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, this, along with like It's a Lovely Day and all that stuff, you think about set pieces in a film, right? So there's set pieces in a script that'll make it into a trailer. Because this is what brings people to the theater, right? Like to go see a movie. So, like I say, you're seeing all that madness with the stilts, and the guy that sticks out to me, Rictus Erectus, like the big, strong man child, right? Because even when his baby brother,
and he was perfect in every way.
Yeah, it's like this dude here, someone that's that much of a meathead and that prison ripped, can't be intelligent too.
By the way, fun fact, speaking of those guys, is in the movie Troy, the guy that Brad Pitt stabs in the neck real quick in that one scene where they're like,
scene. Like in the beginning.
Yeah, that's like, Rictus, same guy.
Oh, I can see. Okay, that he did look familiar. Okay, Like it was fast when Brad Pitt like disposed of that guy. Like you're thinking like, oh, this is about to be a real tough fight, and he just kind of like does like a little side swoop jump.
I remember.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, we know Andy remembers.
He was Rictus was dazed by Brad Pitt's
yeah, I mean
thighs, exposed thighs,
hair, everything.
Andy had to change his underwear after that scene, and that was just the first 10 minutes. He told his girl, he's like, "I'll be right back."
But I want to talk about just how, like, I love how this movie's like, let's just go over the top with everything. Nothing's off the table. And just the visual of Rictus saying, hey, I got to stop this car. I'm just going to rip the engine right out of the hood of the car as he's like, as the flames are still coming up and he's,
yeah.
What a monster of a human being that guy was. And it felt kind of sad seeing the war boys say "witness me" one last time before saving everybody.
Yeah, it was kind of deep. Yeah, him saying "witness me," and it's because at that point, he's a fan favorite, and so to see, but he did that to help them out because I'm assuming weren't there other like vehicles behind his or something? Yeah. It also kind of stopped all the people chasing them and like freed them. So someone has to sacrifice himself. So we lose War Boy and we lose the pregnant breeder.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. But this final scene again, I guess, and it felt to me like they had plans for a sequel, the way they had Mad Max leave and Furiosa take over the Citadel. Everyone's happy. Everyone gets water. Let's get to some final thoughts here. Andy, any just kind of closing thoughts on this movie and how they wrapped it up? And would you see a sequel? Could they do a sequel? Could they top this?
I think you could do these, like you could keep doing these over and over because you just say Mad Max and then you just put him in a crazy world again. Like, I wonder if the sequel would have Furiosa or if she would have her own kind of movie. Because I think it seemed like he was leaving, so maybe we would see him in another adventure with like new characters and stuff. And I'd be on board for both. I'd be on board for the Furiosa movie. I'd be on board for Mad Max New Adventure Beyond Thunderdome. I would check that out.
And I wanted to jump in, and that was a big thing. You got to remember, it took years for George Miller just to even make this movie, but it was such a big hit, and I think you're trying to jump on it. But films like this don't get made like 2 years later. You can see there's so much. But there is a Furiosa prequel that's going to be coming out. It's slated to come out in either 2023, 2024. And the big thing with Furiosa, because of the arm and stuff, I could be wrong, but she was supposed to be a breeder for Immortal Joe, but she was barren, so she couldn't have children. And at that point, she then became one of his top warriors. And so we're gonna see her origin story, and she's gonna be played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who's
Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit, the masterful performance there. So that's gonna, you imagine you could see her looking a little bit like a younger Charlize Theron.
I was thinking about Charlize in this movie and just in general her acting career. Is there anybody more well-rounded than her? I mean, she can play comedies, like she's doing this action stuff. She's been in dramas, like she's won an Oscar. Like I just feel like I couldn't think of anybody that could possibly do this and the rest of the stuff that she does. She's so great.
Yeah, she's
great.
She's incredible, and I've always said this is what I love about this movie is just how. This is going to be a bit of a hot take. Like I love that she's awesome, but it doesn't feel like one of these force-fed. This doesn't feel like a women's empowerment movie, but you definitely see a bunch of badass women kicking a ton of ass throughout this whole movie. And they just take it over. Yeah, and old women.
The old women are like badass. Like I love those older ladies. Who have all that wisdom and just like go for it.
Yeah, even that one that like she dies, but she's got the smile on her face because she was just wrecking dudes before she
that's the way to go.
I will say this is my hot take too. I don't want a prequel. I want to see what happens next. Let me know. I want to see what happens next. What's the next part of the story? Don't go backwards. Go forward. This isn't Memento. This is real life.
I agree. I want to see what happens.
But I was gonna say after in this day and age, 5 years have gone by. You have to reboot now, right? In the way we do this world now.
Probably. I mean, I know they were trying to work on a Furiosa with Charlize Theron, but another thing too, as much as we enjoyed this was not an easy film to shoot.
Doesn't look easy.
There was a lot of tension on set. Supposedly, Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy, they were kind of at odds a lot in this film, but they obviously like worked together. But it was it's almost very methody how they were kind of, foes against each other, or foils initially before working together. So I think it probably wasn't an easy shoot, supposedly. I'm not saying that's the reason why, but as you said, 5 years later, and what do most studio? I think there's a Warner Brothers film. What do most studios want to do? They want to skew younger if they can, right? So who is Anya Taylor-Joy? Kind of like a new It girl, a younger version, and from there, I'm assuming if they do that prequel, it does well, then they make maybe a series from that movie. I'm just thinking on top of my head if that's how the studio execs are looking.
I mean, it'll be great. I just want to see what happens next.
That's,
that's my only. I mean, I'm just being selfish. I'm sure it'll be great, and I'll love it. I get worked up about these kind of movies, but I love bad action. Not bad, but I love silly action, over the top action. It's my favorite stuff. But
this is the movie.
Yeah, it is tough. Like the last 2 movies we did, or 3, I guess, because World War Z, I think as well. Like it seems like they were setting you up for the sequel. Edge of Tomorrow seemed like it was setting you up for a sequel, and so did this one. So
yeah, Marvel,
don't set us up like that.
Marvel is like, look, if you can't do sequels like us, don't even try.
They set the bar high.
So Kevin Bacon, Andy.
Yeah. So you mentioned this movie earlier. The Revenant was in the same year, right? With Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy was in The Revenant with Leo DiCaprio. Leo DiCaprio is in one of my favorite movies, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was in Sleepers with Kevin Bacon.
I thought you were going to say Rictus was in Troy with.
No,
you're going to say
I do these
weird.
He did hand that to you. That was an assist, Andy.
So I do these off the top of my head, and then like before we started the show, I'm like, I wonder if Charlize Theron was in a movie with Kevin Bacon. And she was.
Oh, was she?
There's some movie I never heard of it though. It's called Trapped. So Charlize Theron is in Trapped with Kevin Bacon, but I felt like our viewers aren't going to appreciate that.
It feels a little weak when you use a smaller movie that no one's ever seen.
Yeah. Trapped sounds like one of those movies on Hulu. Like if you got nothing to find, like you're going into the deep recesses, like you're really desperate to find someone. You have to look at genres on Hulu.
So that means that does it for 2015. We're going to wrap it up here. 2016 next week. We're going to get a little cartoony. We're going to Sausage Party, a movie I've never seen before. James, this might knock Safe House off the
what a quick turn
the list, but
maybe
it should be fun. Then Andy, we got 2017. What are we doing for that?
We're going to go with the thriller Get Out.
Get Out. That Halloween will be kind of in the rear view for recording after this, because that would have been a good Halloween movie. But doesn't matter. We keep on rolling. Then we go into 2018, James. What do we got lined up?
Well, you know me, I love dramas and action, but I was like, let me lend my hand to a comedy film this time. So anyone that's a fan of Ozarks knows that Jason Bateman is known for his comedy chops before the drama, and we're going to watch Game Night.
Oh, I'm
nice.
So excited. I actually,
dude,
have
you seen it?
I looked up movies and I was wondering what you were going to pick. I'm like, I hope he picks Game Night.
Game Night.
And
nice. Yeah. It was between that and like some other stuff, but there's a lot of like more like serious dramas that came out then.
Yeah, that movie's great.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I can't wait for that. We go through phases in this show where like it'll be a certain type of movie, and I think we're getting into the silliness here.
Well, Mad Max: The Sausage Party is just hilarious to me, especially if you watched them like back to back.
Like I said, I haven't seen Sausage Party. I hope it's funny. I hope it works. I've already got a big swing and a miss on my record. I don't want another one. So that does it for us. Thank you to everyone who's watched. Andy, where can the world find you online?
I'd like people to find me at Dead Body Movie as of right now. We got
Attaboy.
Films coming out this week at the Soho Film Festival. So check out at Dead Body Movie on Instagram.
And how can people see it? Like if I want to watch it virtually, because one of the millions of listeners of the show, viewers of the show, who is incredibly international. If I'm an international fan of this show, how do I find it? How do I stream it?
You're going to be able to stream it a couple times this month. But first off, just go to sohofilmfest.com and there'll be like a schedule, and you can just click on it and start watching as of November 4th.
And James, how about you? Where can we find you online?
You know what? You can find me at Dead Body Movie. I make an appearance in the film. Come holler at your boy. It's hijinks ensues. And I do a little acting in that film.
Yeah, and you can find me at Dead Body Movie as well.
Yeah.
So check it out. I do no acting. I play myself. No, I
play Rickton.
I play about as little acting as you can do in the movie and still count. So, but I'm excited for it. Yes, check it out. It's going to be a fun movie. I love it. I'm so eager and excited for everyone to get to see it. Again, Soho International Movie Festival, November 4th.
Yeah.
Italy Live. That does it for us. We will see you guys next week. Watch Dead Body, then watch Sausage Party, then watch Dead Body again and tell your friends about it. We'll see you guys next time.